Last September in Albuquerque, a single moment unfolded that no one could have predicted, one that would shake a police officer to his core and ultimately change lives in ways that still resonate far beyond that day. It started like any other shift. Officer Ryan Hollet responded to a routine call at a convenience store. Someone had tried to steal beer, and the clerk simply wanted the person gone. Nothing unusual, nothing urgent, just another call in a long line of everyday incidents. But by the time Ryan and his trainee arrived, the suspect had already disappeared. It could have ended there, except something caught his eye. Off to the side of the building, sitting low in the grass, were two individuals, a man and a woman. Their behavior immediately raised suspicion. Years on the force had trained Ryan to recognize certain signs, and this was one of them. He approached calmly, turning on his body camera. "Hello, folks. How are you doing today?" The question was simple, but the situation wasn't. In their hands were needles. The intent was obvious. Ryan didn't sugarcoat it. "It looks like you're about to shoot up." It was a scene he, and countless officers across the country, had seen far too often. The opioid crisis had turned moments like this into a grim routine. But then something shifted. As the woman tried to move, to hide what she was holding, Ryan noticed something that stopped him completely. She was pregnant. Everything changed in an instant. His tone changed, his focus changed, his purpose in that moment changed. "Are you pregnant? Why would you be doing this? It's going to harm your baby." The words came out raw, unfiltered, not as an officer, but as a father. The woman, Crystal, broke down. Tears replaced defensiveness. Silence replaced denial. She admitted she had already used drugs that very morning. For Ryan, that realization hit hard. He wasn't just looking at a crime anymore. He was looking at a life at risk before it had even begun. He asked her how far along she was. 8 months. Time was almost up. And then came the moment that would change everything. Ryan asked what would happen to the baby once it was born. Crystal's answer was quiet, but devastating. She said the baby would be given up for adoption immediately. She didn't have anyone lined up. She didn't have a plan. She just knew she couldn't keep the child. That honesty, painful and rare, cut through everything. In that moment, Ryan saw something he didn't often see in situations like this. He saw someone who knew they were struggling and still wanted something better for their child. He stepped away, not because he needed more information, but because he needed a moment to think. The weight of what he had just heard was overwhelming. He sat in his patrol car, trying to process it. And then, just as quickly as the situation had unfolded, a decision formed, clear, immediate, life-changing. He went back. And he made an offer that no one expected. He told Crystal that he and his wife would adopt her baby. It wasn't a negotiation. It wasn't hesitation. It was conviction. Crystal was stunned. This wasn't how encounters with police were supposed to go. This wasn't what she expected from a stranger, especially not one in uniform. Ryan knew trust wouldn't come easily. So he did something simple but powerful. He showed her a photo of his family, 4 young children, a home filled with life. Proof that he understood what it meant to care, to raise, to love. Then he told her again, this time with even more clarity. "We will adopt your baby, and if that's not what you want, I will still help you until the baby is born." It wasn't just an offer, it was a promise. The next day, Ryan and his wife Rebecca met with Crystal and her partner Tom. There was no turning back now. They began preparing, not just for a baby, but for a responsibility that had arrived unexpectedly. Ryan had to tell Rebecca everything. He found her at a gathering, walked up, and said it plainly. "I met a woman today. She's pregnant. She's using drugs. And I offered to adopt her baby." Rebecca didn't laugh. She didn't hesitate. She simply said, "Okay." It was that simple. They had talked about adoption before, but someday, not now. Not with 4 children already under the age of 5. But this wasn't about timing. It was about need. In the days that followed, Ryan and Rebecca stepped in fully. They arranged a place for Crystal and Tom to stay. They helped with medical care. They supported them through the final stretch of the pregnancy. But time wasn't on their side. 5 weeks early, Crystal went into labor. Ryan was there. The baby was born with drugs in her system, heroin and meth. The first days were critical. Withdrawal, monitoring, uncertainty. Ryan and Rebecca didn't leave. They took turns staying at the hospital, holding her, feeding her, comforting her through the pain she didn't deserve. During one quiet moment, Ryan held the baby in his arms and thought about everything that had happened, the chance encounter, the decision, the future ahead, and he gave her a name, Hope, because that's what she represented, not just for herself, but for everyone involved. After 11 days, Hope was strong enough to leave the hospital. She went home with Ryan and Rebecca. A new life, a new beginning. And she fit right in. 4 siblings welcomed her without question. A home already full somehow made even more room. But Ryan and Rebecca didn't stop there. Their commitment extended beyond the baby. They helped Crystal and Tom find a rehabilitation program. They supported their journey toward sobriety. They gave them a chance to rebuild. And slowly, progress began. Both parents committed to recovery. They began planning for their future, jobs, stability, a new path forward. Ryan believed something deeply, that people, no matter how lost, are not beyond redemption. And he acted on that belief. What started as a routine call became something far greater. A chain reaction of compassion, a moment where law enforcement met humanity and chose kindness. Ryan never saw himself as extraordinary. To him, it was simple. When someone asks for help and you're the one who hears it, you have a responsibility to respond. But others saw it differently. His actions moved his fellow officers, his supervisors, and eventually people across the country. His story spread. It reached places no one expected, including the White House. Ryan and Rebecca were invited to meet the president, to talk about the opioid crisis, and to be recognized for what they had done. They were later invited to the State of the Union address, where their story was shared with the nation. They received a standing ovation. But for them, none of that mattered as much as one thing. Hope. She was the reason. The reminder that even in the darkest situations, something good can emerge when someone chooses to care. Today, their message is simple. You don't have to go across the world to make a difference. Sometimes the opportunity is right in front of you, in a parking lot, on a routine call, in a moment you didn't expect. And what you choose to do in that moment can change everything. From the U.S. Crime Line, I'm Annie Thompson. Thank you for joining me.